Hi again, it's Emma's Parlor and I'm going to go right into a tutorial with my sister-in-law, Becky. And so what I've done, I've kind of done some prepping before I started this video. So I have gone in and curled the hair with my really tiny 1/4 of an inch curling iron. And I've just wrapped it around, and it's a wand, so I just wrapped it around. And I left out some of the ends. So I made it so that it's all curled so that we can get right into it. So I've left some hairs in the front just so to leave a little bit of hair to move around after I do the updo. And today I'm actually doing a sew-in technique using a needle and a thread for this updo. And I've chosen a blunt needle, and so just so that it doesn't poke her, and so it's very blunt on the ends, and I've gone in and tied a double knot, and I'll just kind of show you a double knot on the thread, and it's a dark brown thread, and it's a linen thread, so that's the best kind of thread to use for hair because it grips on really well to the hair. So I'll just take my scissors. I'm going to cut the end of this, and I'm going to leave about enough where I'm stretching my arms out. So about that much thread, I'll maybe a little bit more, just to have some thread to work with. I'm just going to snip the thread here at the very end. There we go. And I'll just keep that thread handy. So what I'm going to do is take the hair and get the majority of the bulk of the hair, and I'm going to bunch it up. And this is going to make for a nice, simple, casual updo and kind of a messy one. And really all I'm doing is bunching up the hair. But first, before I go in and do that, I'm just going to quickly back comb the hair in the crown just so that it stays put. So I'm just going to take my tail comb and section by section, just taking kind of bigger sections, using my tail comb. I'm just going to back comb the crown, and that will help to lock everything in place. And I'm going to use my hairspray. And I just usually spray it a couple of times and then let that fall over. And I've created a bit of a knot wall so that it stays put. And then I'm going to just take a couple more sections, and about an inch thick. So a couple more sections. There we go. And I'm holding this very strong, and I'm just combing down. And I'm getting like a nice secure ball of knotting there. And the final section, and combing down again. Just really focusing on creating some volume right in through the 2 inches of root there that I have, and spraying each time so that it secures it in place. So now what I'll do is I'll just bring those sections down, and I'm pinching them out sort of to distribute the hair, pinching them out, and then combing over top, just to smooth over the top so it doesn't look like a wall of knots on her head. And I'm spraying just to kind of secure it down, and now I will go in with my needle and thread. So I've got I don't want any knots or tangles, so I'm just kind of smoothing out my needle and thread. And then I'm taking Becky's hair and making sure I leave those pieces in the front, and I'm just bunching it up, literally like that. And I'm going to go in with just make sure I have all the hair in my hand. I'm going to go in with my needle and thread, and I'm going in through the bottom of her hair. So as you can see, I'm just going in through the base with the needle, and I'm wrapping it around. And I'm going to just switch hands here, or I'll just bring it up a little bit higher. And I'm going in, and I'll bring up a little bit more of that. Oh, there goes the needle. So I'm bringing up this hair, making sure it's bunched into my hands, and I'm wrapping it around. I'm going to wrap it, so I'm poking it through the base, and I'm wrapping it around at the base 4 times. So there's number 2, here's number 3, and number 4. And then I'm going to pull it. And you just want to make sure that it doesn't tangle in any spots. So I'm just pulling it, and it locks it into place. And then I'm going to go up and do the same thing. So I'm going in through the middle here, finding my tip of my needle, and wrapping it around 4 times. 3 and 4. So as you can feel, Becky can feel it becoming more secure in the updo. So it's starting to kind of build into a shape. So I'm going to just keep continuing to wrap. I've run a little bit out of thread, so I'm just going to get a little bit more. So now that I've attached more thread, I'm going to keep going. And I'm just going to make sure I'm holding this hair into place. So I'm going into the middle again, just to give it extra staying power. And I'm making sure the thread goes all the way through. And I'm coming from the other side, and I'm bringing this in. Sometimes you need to go, if the person's got pretty thick hair, you have to just go back in and just wrap around where you need to. And I'm going in through here, finding that blue needle and wrapping it and pulling it. And I'm going to bring this up. Where did my blue needle go? In all that hair. Okay. So I'm just making sure that this is always kind of sitting up, and that I'm continually bringing that needle through, just to kind of make sure that it's brought up into the updo. If there's anything that I see that's kind of not secure, I just keep looping it around. Okay, and I've run out of needle, so I'm just going, or I've run out of thread, so I'm just going to clip it, and then I will tie it just do a little knot on where I see another string. Now you can see, sort of, she'll just turn her head so you can see the back. So what I've created is a base for the hair, kind of just a security so that the hair is all up, and now I can go in and do any kind of detailing that I want. And it's nice that they've left out these front hairs so I can bring them back and kind of shape it into a finished product. But this is sort of gives us the general base of an updo, which is nice, and it's given the general shape. So I just kind of, this was sticking out a little, so I stuck a bobby pin in there, and I tied the thread and finished it off. And I had to go in a few times with some thread just because of how thick her hair is. And so it varies on how much thread you're gonna need depending on the thickness of the hair. And yeah, so I'll just continue to finish this updo. So you get the general gist of how to sew it in. You just kind of loop around, and you can do it in a messy way, you can do it in a clean way. I usually start at the bottom and do 4 times, then I do the middle, do four times through, always going to the base and looping and then tightening after the 4th, and then I go to the top. And then if I need to kind of go weave in and out, that's what I do. So that's kind of your general way of using the sewing technique, the Kevin Murphy sewing technique. So I always have my hairspray on hand just to lock things in place. So I'm just kind of spraying, and I use my tail comb to smooth things over as well. So I have my bobby pins handy, and I'm just going to finish off this fun, casual, or dressy updo. It's kind of a versatile look. And I'm just kind of bringing these hairs that are forward. I can kind of keep some down in the front just to kind of have a little bit of softness and a little bit of a fun, sort of flirty look for the night out. So, and this could be something kind of easily worn at a wedding, or it can be kind of a fun girls' night out or a date night. It's really just one of those versatile updos that's just messy, and it can go whichever way you kind of want it to go. So I'm just, as you can see, I've just taken this hair, I've pinned it, I've twisted it, and then I've pinned it in. And I tend to do that with my bobby pins. I never open them. I just kind of twist and then stick the bobby pin in where I want the hair to go. And what you can do, the reason why I left these kinds of hairs a little bit more straight is because then you can kind of fan it out and have like a really fun sort of casual look to the updo. And so you can kind of see that they're sort of sticking out, which is a cute look. And I can just stick bobby pins in wherever to kind of make them separate a little bit. So I'm doing that with the same side here. I'm going to take some hair. I'm leaving her bangs kind of out of the updo just because she has bangs and it looks soft and pretty to have them in the face. And because she has so much hair, I'll do this in 2 sections. So I'll just leave that for a second, and then I'll take this. And because the curl is going back, that's usually the way I twist it with my hand. So I've twisted it, and I'm taking my bobby pin and pinning it in where I want it to go. And I'm going to pin in one more right there, and one right here. How secure does your hair feel right now?
Very.
Feels like it's not going anywhere, does it? Okay. That's the goal with this type of updo. I feel like that's why it's invented, because people with thick hair in updos tend to feel like their hair is all falling out because it's so heavy. But with the needle and thread, you're really locking it into place, especially when you pull it after winding it around. And so that's why I love this technique so much. So I'm just taking this last piece of hair, and then we'll be finished our updo. So I'm just going to twist it underneath this one because it looks pretty. And I'm going to pin it in like that. And there's a few too many fans or pieces of straight hair sticking out. So I'm just going to go in and take a couple and pin them into the updo so that I'm not having too much chaos happening. Because a messy look can be messy as long as it's a little bit controlled, a controlled messy. So I'm sticking this pin in there so it doesn't look like anything's falling out. There's a little bit of too much happening, sticking out of the do down here, so I'm just gonna pin it up. And the reason why I never open my bobby pins is because number one, it stretches them out, and so it'll slide out of the hair easier. And number two, I feel like when the tighter that the bobby pin, you can manipulate it more when it's not open. So you can kind of move it and almost twist it into the updo if you're not opening it. And it's just, now it's just really fine tuning. So what I'm doing is I'm just sort of sticking bobby pins in wherever I feel like the hair is sticking out. But really, it's all personal preference. There is your basic sew-in technique updo. I'll just kind of turn her and just kind of, if you want to kind of move a little bit for the camera, and then I'll turn you so that we can look that way. So like kind of a slow turn. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So, and then this is what Becky has in the front. She's got like just a couple of hairs in the front just to have a softer sort of look. There we go. So there is the back, and thank you for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for another Emma's Parlor tutorial.